Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Digital Media Sync. I am Julia Gambale. I am with my own company, Agents of Branding. I've also been doing Digital Media Sync for the past 10 years, and I am a team member and instructor for Known to Knownpreneurs, which actually our first cohort of knownpreneurs is graduating this month. So we are going to be having a little graduation ceremony later in the month. Also, our second cohort will be starting in September. So be sure to keep an eye on our Facebook, Instagram page, and website as well. I want to tell you a little bit about Known before I bring on our guests. So Known Co-working is a co-working space. We are at 139 Orange Street on the 4th and 5th floors. I'm actually in the attic, and what that means is I am in the production space. So we have a green screen, light, camera, all of that. So that we can produce our Known live events. So there's 3 of them right now, actually. We may have a 4th, we may change things around, but one is Pivot Talk, and we've been doing Pivot Talk over the past year due to the pandemic. So it's where businesses must evolve. And we're talking about how businesses change things up, what the catalyst is for that change, and what happens afterwards. There's obviously this program, which is Digital Media Sync, your window to the digital communications world. We'll be starting that very soon. And then the third one is the Connection Corner, and that's hosted by Barb Nangle. And it's about calling all entrepreneurs, artists, dreamers, and change makers. And we actually have a Connection Corner episode coming up tomorrow at 2 p.m. Barb will be joined by Rosa Carrasco Vergara, and they're going to be discussing the benefits of working with the virtual assistant. Rosa is a virtual assistant, and she's going to talk about when you might be considering hiring one, what that entails, and the do's and don'ts of working with one. So that's really important for our business owners and our entrepreneurs. Okay, so we are going to get to it. I am super happy to be bringing back a dear friend of mine and also quite a professional who has been in this space. She is definitely my go-to person for when I want to talk about virtual events. So I'm going to bring Zeph Zan up. Good morning, Zeph.
Good morning. Why am I so chirpy this morning? I don't know, because I've hardly had my coffee, but I think because I was up and early networking, so I think I'm here all pumped up.
Pumped up is good. I felt like I was, like a little like, hey, let's just ease into the morning. And I was
like, I hope people are tuning in because I think this is a great topic and a lot of great things happening.
Yeah, there are a lot of great things happening. And we were talking about what we were going to talk about in the show, because there is so much to talk about.
Yeah. So many things to talk about. I don't even know where we want to begin. Where do you want to begin?
I know where I want to begin. So I had sort of begun with the fact that we've known each other for about 10 years. I've always known you to be in the online live space, right? So whether it be live streaming, video streaming, and doing the live virtual event. So I would like you to really introduce yourself and give us kind of like a little capsule.
I know of how I got here, right?
Yeah, how you got here, because this is over a big period of time, and it really does lead up to what you're doing and what's happening in the space, because you've been doing this in this space, way before COVID, way before, you were one of the pioneers in this space.
Yeah. Thank you for asking me to share this story, because I'm always like thinking of, how did I get here?
When you stop right?
Yeah, but the thing is that, when I started this journey, really, in this journey of being online in the virtual space, was really out of my own business need. So when you know what? As a matter of fact, I have to share this because it popped up on LinkedIn. I didn't even remember it until somebody says, "Congrats on your work anniversary," and I'm thinking, "What year is this?" And I'm like, oh my God. So basically, when I started Entrepreneurs at Soar, the primary company, I basically started it out as a, like, networking. My vision then was for a networking organization where I can connect people and resources. And then it got really hard because you and I know how we do in-person networking events.
Right.
It takes time, it takes time. It takes people to get to know your group and then get those butts in the seats, and it's just like too much. And yeah, and if at that time I was only one person doing that and trying to make it more fun, interesting, a variety of value, so it takes a lot of, and I felt like I was the only passionate one in the room, Julia, because I'm like, I'm the only one in the room, and then 8 shows up, and maybe you're lucky 15 shows up, and then people RSVP and they don't show up, and I'm thinking like, okay, right? So long story short, I'm laughing about this because for me, that's how I started a concept of hybrid event, right? Because my event was in person. And then I was like, okay, I got so fed up because I was the only passionate one in the room trying to get people in the seats. Hey, people, I have value here. I have people in my tribe to connect you to, but I understand people are busy. So I was like, okay, let me see how I can get Julia into my space without Julia leaving her desk or her chair or even the toilet seat. Okay, that really was my thing. I don't know why I thought of it at that time. You know what? As much as I don't want to mention it, but I have to kind of say something about this because at that time I'm like, if the Kardashians are monetizing their show, why can't I do the same?
Right.
Yeah, right. Because
that makes sense. Sure.
Right. So because I feel like we as human beings live in a society of like, okay, we want to know what Julia did today, what Zev did today, right? So we have that engagement. And I thought, oh, that would be cool. People don't really have to leave their spaces. And I thought, if I could function as a TV show or a talk show, whatever, people can patch in anytime they want. So even though we have the live part, the live segment of the show, there's a post show, there's a conversation that can carry on. So that's really how my mind worked. And I'm thinking, okay, great. Now, how do I do it? At that time, I'm kind of like dating myself when I mentioned this platform because some of you may not have heard of it. It's called Google Hangouts, or the streaming part is Google Hangouts on air. So I started doing that, and I tried to improvise. And Google at that time, really, that product was for their staff members, right? For them to do meetings. This is way before Zoom.
Way back when, yeah.
Way back when, before Zoom, right? So when we started, and I was like, okay, cool, because we had the events in person. I brought my computers and all that stuff, camera, whatever, to kind of patch in. As wonky as it was, it worked, right? And I was like, oh, this is so cool. People are watching, they're tuning in, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, you know what? If I can do this here if I can do this without carrying my equipment, I can literally do it anywhere. So that's really when I started playing around with streaming, broadcasting. And then, Periscope arrived. In case you all don't know what that is, it used to be Twitter bought over Periscope kind of thing. Now Periscope no more, right? Yeah. And that was Blab I Am. Remember Blab I Am, Julia?
Yeah. You're bringing up like and that really speaks a lot to a different area too, where we're going to be talking about the technology and how it has evolved. Right.
Exactly.
So again, this is something where we had to, and I know you in particular had to go through and test out all of these different technologies, and move from one technology to the next,
to the other.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's why, I will touch it in a bit at the end of the stories about the project that I'm working on, because how it kind of all comes together. So that's when I started, like with Blab I Am. I met so many people, and in such a short period of time, I was able to connect with people around the world. And I'm thinking like, okay. And at that time, of course, everyone's like, oh, nothing like in-person networking. I get it. But that was the next best thing, to be in the room with Julia, who I cannot meet at the time or maybe she's in the UK, or maybe she's in South Africa, right? So, but I was able to show up consistently for the other person, or the other person for me, just by going online, put up a camera, have a conversation like this, right? So it kind of like changed my mindset a little bit. It kind of helped me evolve. So I went and dived right into live streaming, live broadcasting world, because that was the technology that was there, right? So I've gone and done a lot of things in technology, as far as live streaming, live broadcasting. You know, I've learned it, practiced it, used it, and produced for my clients, have courses, blah, 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 blah. But now, because the pandemic came, right? And suddenly I was like, how do I need to use this? How do you need to use this? And of course, a product or company like Zoom, who started their product as basically an online meeting tool, now have had to think, right? How do I incorporate some of the features? So that's how I think everything evolved. And now for me, I'm just marrying the live part, the streaming part, with virtual event as in a much more advanced and extensive way of producing. I wouldn't say producing. So the word I've been using a lot, Julia, is reimagining the traditional event. Can you imagine an event, a virtual event that probably your viewers have never experienced, have never seen? You know, you can be as creative as you can. So that's how I've arrived to my current day project, which, you know, you're going to be a part of.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, okay, I did an event. So I've never really, you know, did an event internationally in my home country where I was born and raised, you know, that is Malaysia. And then I was like, why wouldn't I? I have so many contacts. I have so many connections, right? So I started an event. So I co-produced an event with an event partner in Malaysia, because she's an event planner in Malaysia. She has a lot of, you know, connections. And we said, let's bring our strength together and do this. So we did an event, and we had so many learning curves, of course, right? Because we had to work a virtual event that was desktop product or computer product, and in a culture that was WhatsApp driven. So that in itself is an interesting conversation.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I started this project. I said, you know what, let's bring all this conversation, because it's Clubhouse. There's, you know, which is just audio, and then there's video streaming, and then there's, you know, the webinar. Is it still there? And all these mushrooms of event tech for virtual events have popped up. Yeah.
And then thing that we had talked about
go ahead.
too is, you know, you're throwing out terminology there, and we had a little bit of a conversation as to what is a virtual event, what is live streaming, what, you know, all those different aspects, video streaming, podcasting, what's a podcast, what's a vlog, you know, and it's really like, how are we defining things? Because that's really important when we talk about, well, what you talk about, what you do, and what the scope of your work is, and how you sell what, you know, what your, you know, your service is, and how everybody, again, you know, as we're all trying to catch up with the technology and with the terminology.
Exactly. So since then, right? So, and I think the pandemic era has really helped us regain consciousness on the topic of online or virtual, right? This is not really something new, right? Because I personally have been in it almost 10 years now, and the folks that helped me start my virtual internship program literally 10 years ago, right? They've been in the industry, in the virtual space, for 20 years now, and I'm thinking it took a pandemic for the whole world to kind of say, yep, this is gonna stay. So I think, you know, the topic of our show today is the future of live events, right? Or virtual live events, however you call it. And that is, if there's a one-liner, I'm just gonna say it's gonna stay. 20 years ago it was here, 10 years ago it's here, right? So that combination. And I'm thinking like in the future we are in a space where technology, virtual events, we have the technology, and virtual events they're just gonna stay. It's just gonna be whether it's virtual events or hybrid events. So that's another terminology we will have to.
I know, just throwing another thing in the mix.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, folks, if you're watching this, please go ahead and say hello, and then you just let us know if you're resonating with anything that we're sharing, because I think it's important to know like how you're experiencing virtual events. As I like to hear what people are saying, even if they're watching post the show, because we as in Julia and I enjoy that conversation because we're in the space so much. We see all the different terminologies that people throw out. So
throughout and that sort of thing.
yeah.
And that's
So
another
go
piece
ahead.
of it too, really quick, because this was something, this event right here that I'm doing, right, Digital Media Sync, for many years, it was a live event, right? And we presented and discussed and had seminars in person. And every once in a while, I know that when I had partnerships or I was working on my own, and I would dabble in going online and saying, okay, we're going to do this on this platform or that platform. And then again, like you said, during the pandemic, it was just like, okay, how we have to bring this online now. And the way that I brought it online, I'm going to say that word that you don't, I'm going to say Zoom.
True.
It was a Zoom event, right? But then that didn't seem like enough, right? So I was like, okay, yes, I can communicate amongst the 10, 12, 8, 20 people, but how do I get this out to a wider audience? How do I reach a lot more people who actually need this help with navigating anything online?
Exactly.
And so I said, you know what, we're going to have to, and I already had this partnership with Known Co-working. They have the platform StreamYard, and voila, it's been over a year now, and probably over 50 episodes of Digital Media Sync that we've done online, of which I think you were a guest on.
Yes. I think we kicked off Gnome's first show on StreamYard. Right. I remember saying like, you got to use StreamYard. You got to use StreamYard. It just makes your life, much easier and efficient. And there's a lot of things you can do.
You introduced the StreamYard, and we still have that episode too in our
StreamYard should be paying me. Hello, royalties.
That's StreamYard. Anyways, send the check over here.
Yes. Can I just respond to what Suzanne is saying right here? And sure. Absolutely. Many people, Suzanne, you're not alone. And I think many people actually feel the same way. They tend to appreciate more virtual events during the pandemic. The thing is, it's basic concept, right? If we don't know something about it, we have a preconceived notion about it, or we just like, I'm not a computer person, I'm not a technology person, right? But the thing is that, it's like, okay, I got to test it to experience it.
Yeah.
And that's basically the thing I think we have to be aware of. And one virtual event is not the same for everybody. Like virtual summits, after webinar, there was this virtual summit concept, right? Now, virtual summit or conference can be done in multiple ways and not the old way or traditional way how it was started. The reason is technology is allowing us, as in the producers, the virtual summit producers, organizers, to evolve the event into something different, right? So an example would be is, I'm now focusing through my brand Vendor Shows Live. I'm producing events like virtual trade shows concept, meaning there's exhibition hall, there's live stage presentation, there's breakout sessions. We do almost exactly the same when you go to the, say, Connecticut Business Expo in Hartford, right? That's the tools right now that we have access to, that we can actually do these virtual events. The thing is that many of us have never really experienced a great one or a good one, right? So we have but
let's ask about that too, because I think that, anybody who's watching, have you, and I wanted to interject as well, because Lance made a very good point. Hi, Lance, and hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Lance.
He said one thing about virtual events is that they are geographically agnostic. That means that people from far distances can attend, and in some cases, even the event grew. Now they are faced with the dilemma that if they return to in-person events, they lose a lot of their following.
Exactly. Lance, thank you so much.
I'm gonna
I love that you made that comment.
in a minute with
Thank
that.
you for sharing that right here. What Lance is sharing there is so point on. Right there is so spot on. So when I started my journey, right? I know, right here. So here's also a little bit of my journey. So I didn't know this until I participated in some of the events on Blab I Am. So the first event was, this is how I grew in the space of the international or global. So when I started with Blab I Am, I'm like jumping from one room to the other, checking out, talking to people, there are different characters. And then for some reason, I started showing my show, and somebody from Denmark said, hey, we love your style. Would you like to host one of our sessions? Because she was actually producing and co-hosting a Blab I Am. They did a 7-day, 24 hours. They were trying to break the world record in streaming. So they did a 24/7, 24 hours, 7 days. So the teams that were involved were Team Australia, Team Denmark, Team USA, and I think the other one was Team Netherlands. Okay. So can you imagine that scope of, suddenly, so this was where I experienced my, with the integration, because Blab had integration with Twitter too. My Twitter just blew up. I didn't even use Twitter. Like, my Twitter just blew up with new following, and I'm thinking, like, who are these people, right? To what Lance just said. Now I have a following, and I'm like, okay, now, these people are international. So I've always been international. So right now, and I'm thinking, I love connecting with people wherever they are in the world. And one of the big things why We Do Virtual Events Live is that I want to bring who I call the pathfinders, people who are doing virtual events, planning, organizing, who are attending these virtual events, so that they can share their experience, because what works in South Africa may not work in Malaysia. So maybe people can share that experiences, and then somebody can take something and go like, maybe I'm going to test run with this idea and see how this works, and marry this with what Julia said. So I love that. I've always been that person. So being on a virtual show or online show like this helps us to connect. And what Len said is absolutely spot on. Boom.
Yeah. Okay, we can close the show. No, I'm just kidding. We have a lot to talk about. So, because you have a couple. You gave us an assignment to look at some articles, which I kind of half did. But you had a couple of articles that you wanted to bring up. Are we ready for this yet? Cool.
Yes, absolutely. So let's first of all, I'm just going to show the website. Let me put this up on my screen.
Oh, that's here. Right. Yeah.
Do you want to share the do you want me to answer that question first you have on screen? What is online and virtual? What are the tools you use? Before we get into that?
Yeah, I was asking the audience, but I think we're gonna talk about that as we move along.
Yeah.
You want to start with that? And then you have can you add to the screen, or I'm the only one who can add to the screen?
I actually there you go. You know. Okay.
Let's keep that
so
up.
This is the show that I mentioned earlier that I'm kicking off. I kicked off last week. So tomorrow, Wednesday, excuse me, 9 p.m. Eastern or New York time, there's a second show, and you can go to wedovirtualevents.live, and this is the link, right? wedovirtualevents.live, and get all the show information. But you can scroll through, and you're going to be in the third episode, so you can get on the shows and schedule. You can watch the live replay there, So this week, the topic is how to use virtual events to attract the right connection. So join us live, or you can watch the replay. But I wanted to kind of share this this article that have been flying around on social media and LinkedIn about LinkedIn bets on remote events, investing in $5 billion plus virtual platform company Hopin. So if you've never heard of Hopin, go check it out. It is this is the CEO, Johnny. So before this, I want to show you the progression of what is happening strategically, right? So LinkedIn bets on Hopin. That's a reason why, because Hopin had bought StreamYard for $250 million earlier this year. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason these two are connecting together is because StreamYard, I'm going to put this out right here. I think not many people know StreamYard. I'm going to not put this. So I'm just going to show you StreamYard. It's not allowing me to do this unless I log out. Okay. So StreamYard basically is the first live streaming tool that has a direct LinkedIn, a native LinkedIn streaming connection. So as you can see, StreamYard and was bought over by Hopin, right? Now, Hopin is a virtual events platform. You can have exhibition booth, you can have speed networking, you can have sessions. So it's a full virtual events platform. And
Yeah.
then LinkedIn now kind of invested in Hopin. So that tells you, as far as virtual events are concerned, they're here to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they are.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about remote events. And remote events is what I enjoy producing is I don't really have to leave my space, right?
Mhm.
I can have different co-producers or team members across the world. And that's basically how, we all we can work together as a team. This is nothing new. And I think for many people, so this is a platform. Just in case if you want to check out the event on July 7th. Hopin has an Illuminate experience, and I registered for it. Go in and register for it. It's like a virtual event, but they also, I'm sorry, it's a hybrid event, but it also has the virtual component of it. So
Mhm.
you can go there and enjoy and experience it. So basically, this is what a typical registration page looks like on Hopin. It tells you, the contents, the layout of the speakers and sponsors. So it's very engaging. You can literally check them out ahead of time, and these are the booths and stuff. So this is like where virtual events are heading.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why LinkedIn invested in Hopin. Hopin wasn't my first choice to do virtual events at the time, but now I'm revisiting it and taking a
Right.
look at it, right? Because I think now, wow, with LinkedIn, especially if you're B2B, you want to check this out, right? Especially if you're
Absolutely.
on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one. And let me show you so they bought over StreamYard. Hopin bought over StreamYard for 250 million. And I started out, I don't know if you remember this, Julia, but I started out, right? Basically during the era of figuring out what my platform would be,
Yeah. No, I remember that.
yeah. So here is in the true nature of my milestones when Blap I Am went away, which was more concentrated on community streaming, right? Engaging in live. You can create a room, somebody can pop in and say hello to you and say, you can do speed networking, you can do speed dating if you want to, you can do that. Then after that, when Blab went away, we all had to figure out where do we want to go, right? There's so many platforms. But I landed on Crowdcast because of the marketing features built into it. Like
Mhm.
integrated. So, you can host, you can register, you can watch live, you can, replay, and then you can live stream to YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitch. And then, yeah, with Crowdcast, they did say webinars a day because, people are now looking for more engaging sessions, right? So this platform actually has allowed us to do that. And this is what it kind of looked like. So on episode number 3, which is June 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, of We Do Virtual Events Live.
Yeah.
As you can see right here, this is Louise, and she will be on the panel with you.
Wonderful.
So
Oh,
nice
so
to,
nice.
yeah, yay, awesome. So that panel will be, how to host a successful virtual event. So tune into We Do Virtual Events Live. So basically, the platforms are all competing with one another. It's really about choosing the right one for the right event, right type of event, right? And
Okay,
do you
yeah.
remember I used AirMeet?
I do remember that. And I remember there was like a couple that you used as well, because there was one that I remember I was helping on in the production side.
Yes. So basically, another one. I wasn't able to get somebody from AirMeet, but I want to show AirMeet because I love AirMeet. However, Emmy's one of the features they have is called the virtual networking tables. They call it the social lounge. However, their mobile app has not, adapted to the virtual tables feature. They're still working on it, but this is what
Right.
it looks like. So the virtual summits and conferences can be, instead of going into different Zoom rooms or set up 50 Zoom rooms, this platform allows you to do a lot of stuff, and you have the conference version has a reception, a stage, a lot. So everything you see on the right here, people can click and then, they can check out the information. Oh, is Julie Gooch in there? She's from Digital Media Sync,
Right,
Oh, let's
right.
connect with her. Let's send a private message. It's so engaging. The lounge, this is what it looks like. Little tables and chairs, right? If you see the chair has a picture of somebody on it, that means somebody is sitting at that table.
Just
So
sitting up.
that just
Yeah.
became, yeah, right?
Right.
It just
Okay. So I
became
remember because I was sitting at one of the chairs there. I had my own table.
right? You had a chair and table, and then when people took a seat because they wanted to meet you, they just take a seat. So it's very interactive in that sense. I love it. And then the booth, of course, the enterprise of the business one, they have all these different tools. Oh, just like at the expo halls, right? You have
Right.
a TV, you have maybe your PDFs in one side, maybe brochures, video gallery. So they actually try. So there's so many platforms right now like this, to cater to a very engaging
Right.
virtual events. So this is really the future. And when you get into virtual and hybrid conferences, you can be at the exhibition hall on the floor. You can still actually have a way to patch into the tool or the app and still communicate with the platform. So this is basically what the future of virtual events look like. And they also have the live stage where you can stream while people network in the exhibition hall. If you're asking where does the future of live virtual events lie or virtual events lie, this is one of the directions it's going. So pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
It's like,
Right. I mean, it just goes
it's
to
mind
show
blowing.
how much work and how much research
Right.
you do
Exactly.
ahead of time, and being able to communicate and connect what that kind of experience will look like for these organizations. Oh, here we go. We have a
Yes, here we
hometown. We have a
I
hometown.
must share this
Yeah.
because on June 30th, and they happen to be the sponsor for my Redo Virtual Events Live, which is this event, right? So the 12-week episode, we will actually close on September 1st with a global networking event. But Encaptive is our sponsor platform for the event. If you don't know who Encaptive is, they are an award-winning platform or tool or app here in Connecticut. If I'm not mistaken, they won the Connecticut Stanford Innovation Center's
They did, and
competition.
I was there when they presented it and they pitched it. Yeah, yeah.
And this is a
All
great
good
story.
stuff.
You guys must come and watch the show June 30th, because what happened was Encaptive really started out as a presenter or speaking app, right?
Right.
Where they just use slide presentations. And if you're in the room with the presenter, you don't really need a slide, like a slide board or whatever. You can follow it on your tablet or your phone, and you can engage. And if you like this slide, you kind of like say you like it, you can engage, you ask questions from the app. But according to Shannon, who is the co-founder,
Yeah.
she actually said during the pandemic, they had to evolve this platform into the app, into a virtual events platform, because they saw the need for it. So they kind of integrated. Folks, you just have to come and check out the conversation on June 30th and September 1st, because
I'm super excited about this because it really did evolve.
yes.
I did try out. When they first presented it at the Stanford Innovation Center, way pre-pandemic, and they actually took the train down to Stanford and watched all the pitches. So they already had the app ready to download. And as they were, before they presented, they had us download on our own phones, and we were
Yes.
following along their presentation, and then they were
Isn't that
interacting
cool?
with it, and it was just
Yes.
like, oh my goodness, this is
It's
amazing.
mind blowing, isn't it? And this is a big part of the conversation. I think the future of virtual events is really, you decide on the type of event, and then you decide on the platform, because there's so much technology. I'm not even saying so many, there's so much technology. I can't keep count. They're like sugar grades,
Yeah.
just like pick one. But I'm also really, really blessed that I'm able to feature this, a captive at the event at We Do Virtuals Live, because I told Shannon, let's kind of collaborate together and see how, because my concept is kind of new too, and I
Right.
think we both are new in the space, and I said, let's just do that. So you can engage, you can convert your audience members, then you can analyze, and that's the beauty. You can analyze who came to the booth, who
That's
came
the
to your
big key
event.
for me. That's
One
always what
space.
brings me over.
Exactly, and then go live. So June 30th is when Shannon's panel will be. Is choosing the right platform for your event. So that you can get all that information on We Do Virtual Events.live. So the other one, I believe she is on. I can't remember if she's on your panel or the week after. I can't remember whichever one. But Next Tech AR is another one. So Next Tech, if you really want to know the future of live events, Next Tech AR and all these other tools and Captive,
Yeah.
these are the tools that are out there for us to actually do great virtual events. And I'm just like, how I personally, Julia, have actually evolved into this virtual events world. It's like I saw the idea of, hey, people can sell on QVC, right? So when I started Vendor Shows Live, that concept of the trade exhibition and expos, I was thinking people love QVC. QVC has been there for a long time. But now I'm also marrying that with a virtual trade event or expo and put them together. So that's, I think, a very powerful component. And many tools like this one are trying to mimic the actual in-person conferences. As you can see, this one has an exhibition hall. You just click and then it goes to wherever you want. So this is the future of virtual events. It's very, very, so that was the inspiration of my concept, the Vendor Shows Live. So basically, this is what I want to do down the line, is basically producing, planning, and managing like virtual trade shows, virtual expos. It could be, I don't know, a medical health show. It's virtual and it's cost effective. And I think that's the direction we are going with virtual live events.
Yeah. I definitely think, and I would say even as well, like hybrid events, and just, an example for me is I'm working locally with the New Haven Museum and the Pardee Morris House, which is right up the street from me. And they were saying, hey, do you want to do a seminar and or webinar series on, the historic herb garden and, how to grow herbs and that sort of thing. And we turned the first event into a tiered hybrid event. So there's going to be a live version where I'm going to be presenting. Nadine Nelson's going to be doing demo cooking and, that sort of thing. And there's going to be people who are attending, and there's one fee for that. And then the live event, which is just the portion, just the education and information portion. So that the live event will be an hour. The actual in-person event will be 2 hours. The online live event will be 1 hour, and it gives you that opportunity. It's like, I really want to learn this stuff. I really want to know what's going on, but I'm probably not going to get my butt down there that day. Like
exactly.
You said in the very beginning, right?
Exactly. So maybe we should talk a little bit about the online meetings, the live streaming, and also the virtual event, right? We talked about terminology, and this is where, if any one of you out there is just like, oh my God, I'm confused now. Well, that's why we're doing this show, and that's why we're having this conversation, because we understand that all this online and virtual stuff, right, they all have evolved over the years because of
Mhm.
technology. Not saying that you just should stick with one, because maybe one platform, will just like runs its course. Because if you want to do more engaging virtual events, sometimes, and I'm just saying sometimes, Zoom may not be the
Be the
best place
one.
to do it,
Yeah.
right? And whenever I tell people this, they think I have something against Zoom. I'm going to tell you, I have nothing against the product. I have a lot to do. When I have this hashtag, I have a lot to do with the mindset. So I have a hashtag. It's called "I am allergic to Zoom." The reason I share that is I want to let people to think about virtual events in a bigger way, right?
Mhm.
During the pandemic, we all kind of gaggled over using Zoom because it was a tool that everybody was using, people were familiar with. Great online meeting. But for me, from the angle that I'm coming from, I don't really need 20 people on screen or 50 or 100 people on screen, right? I'm more for production based because I started with streaming and broadcasting. If I want to have a meeting, sure, I can use a lot of stuff, but I would not subscribe to Zoom just because, it's an online meeting tool. I can use a lot of the other Google Meets and whatever, right?
Yeah. There's
My
a lot of
point being
tools.
is, I want you all to think about virtual events as in the reimagining the traditional event, right? Trying to bring the engagement, trying to bring the connection, trying to have a conversation face to face without feeling so exhausted because you're on Zoom
Right.
for six
At the end of the
hours.
day. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So there's so many platforms right now. Like, it's not a matter of, oh, this platform, that we can feature all the different things, but you need to know. So for me, I'm going to share something right now from a producer point of view. When I started live streaming, Julia, it was easier to pick a live streaming platform, even though it was still challenging when I started streaming. The
Yeah.
question is like, okay, do I want to stream to Facebook, or do I want to just stream to a YouTube live, or do I want to stream to Twitch? Which of these platforms can do all three? Okay. And then, do you want a marketing feature built into it, like, questions and question and answers, polls, tracking? I'm like, okay. So those are the questions in the live virtual event streaming world we have to face now. In a full virtual events platform, the questions, they don't give you a set price. They tell you how many attendees, how many
Right.
tables do you need, how many day is your event, do you need a registration product, do you need a streaming product? And I'm
Right.
thinking, like, so when clients now talk to us, or when I write, when they ask for a proposal, I'm like, okay, let's go through a list of
A list of
questionnaires.
what, yeah, what is
Yeah,
it you actually need before I
exactly.
can give you a price.
So everything is evolving, right? So we all learn as we go, just like Zoom. First, initially, go like, oh, how do you Zoom? Then, oh, how do you do the breakout rooms on Zoom? Right? And then, can you stream from Zoom? So these are the things every technology platform or event tech platform
Right.
is just having to compete with one another, because they have features, and they have to develop features that people want. So yeah, stuff like that. So that's basically, online meeting tools are one. So you have Google Meet, you have Zoom, live streaming tools, and I'm talking like live streaming. Doesn't have like, it doesn't have anything else like StreamYard, right? Live
Yeah.
streaming, a lot of component, like they can go to multiple places.
Multiple.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all the streaming technology. When you go live, what are you using? Can you go on Zoom? Yes, but you only can do one at a time, right, Julia?
I
To
think
Facebook,
yeah, I think we're still only on Facebook unless, well,
exactly.
the package that I have, it goes only to Facebook. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
not
that's this.
helpful.
Yeah. So
And that
that's
was
that's
like
the
the
live.
big thing about StreamYard. With StreamYard
Yes,
right now,
you
we
can do
are
a lot.
streaming
Yeah,
to Facebook, YouTube, and to a Facebook group, your Facebook group.
and anything that uses custom RTMP. So without going into digital rabbit hole, you
Yeah.
can customize if any other third party platforms can use this RTMP code, they can actually talk to one another. So you can set it up.
So
So
you can
that's
set
the
it up
live
that
streaming
way.
technology. Yep. So virtual events platform is a matter of like, do you want sessions? Do you want speed networking? Do you want exhibition hall? Do you want booth? Do you want a sponsor page? I'm like, okay. So this is how I've evolved from somewhat hybrid to virtual, right? And then stream, and now like full virtual events. Do you see the progression? And people now are talking about, oh, maybe, pandemic is almost done. Everybody gets vaccinated. We're going back to in-person events. And people tell, hey, we're going to have hybrid events. I said, maybe I'm the godmother of hybrid events because I literally thought of how to use Google Hangouts to use that to kind of put it out to the world. Yeah.
Sometimes and now, you have to just grab it and own it.
Yes.
That's the hybrid event godmother.
I know. So that's basically what it is. And that's why I also created this show, because I feel there's so much to talk about. There are some great online Facebook groups, and there's a lot of concentration on, whenever virtual events, people talk about technology. I'm going to tell you this, folks. It doesn't, hardware technology, meaning equipment, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be hardware talk or technology wise. Yes, you can improve your quality of event and streaming, view, audio with hardware. But I'm going to tell you, folks, my keyboard, my camera, and my mic, this one is all I have. I don't even have fancy stuff, So, but to me, I want to keep my production simple, but also high quality in delivering the content, so that I'm not like, when how it is, Julia, when we're back at this behind the scene, we're like, okay, what pages am I? There's so many things to look at.
There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. Exactly. Like I can tell you right now, I'm looking at comments. I'm picking up banners. And when I was first doing this, I was just like, I can't do this by myself. I can't, can't they just look at the camera?
I know, right? And sometimes can you imagine, this is just the two of us, me having 6 people on screen. Can you imagine having to do that? So, I've learned over time, like I said, my experience with Google Hangouts, because when they started, it was kind of wonky. There's a lot of things to kind of do. And now I've learned the process. When I set up my process, I'm like, I know what to do, right? Known co-working says Zeph is a hybrid event godmother. I feel like it.
I named it for you.
I know. So that's basically how I started this journey. And I think the future of live virtual events or virtual events in general is just going to be more, even post-pandemic, because now, let's just say you, and just to take an example of Digital Media Sync, when you started, you were in person for many, many years, right? And then I kept on saying to you, I'm like, hey, let's do it. And then when Vlad and Facebook Live came out, I said, hey, Julia, let's try a Facebook Live. I was like, let me bring my tools and put it here, right?
Yeah, bring it on.
Yeah. So now we have this platform, StreamYard, can kind of create easy content on the go kind of thing. It makes it easier to produce and show up. And I think that's the beauty of it, because everyone, it doesn't matter if you're on Zoom, Google Meet, whatever, right? Your meeting platform, you're meeting people online. You have experienced this, even for my friends in New York corporate, right? So an example, companies, even like government institutions like UN, they have members who are now working remotely, and many corporate companies, I know from your experience, are even talking like, is it worth to have our team back in the office? Because people, productivity hasn't changed, right? Yeah. But quality of life for their employees have changed a little bit. And they've enjoyed the 1 hour buyback, 2 hours buyback, because, maybe 1 hour before they were traveling to and from Connecticut to New York to work. But now working remotely, they can just like in the spur of the moment go like, ooh, I just woke up, I'm late for a meeting. Hi, show up, right? You don't even, and when I tell people, they go like, oh my God, it's so true. And I belong to some other groups too that, there's a lot of conversation, like 100 groups, out of 100 groups, only 30 are going back to in person. So I'm like, that tells us something about being online. Yeah.
No, it really does. And even, whether they're going, they're not going in person, or they're only going a couple of days. And, going back to what Lance said as well, Right now, I'm taking a 5-week course online, and it's such a course where I can have conversations with people, even though it's self-paced. I can have discussions, during and after the classes as I'm moving along. Um, so in academia and business and in any sort of environment, there's going to be that option, I think. And it's like, how do we, we being the business people, we being the consumers of these platforms, how do we make sure that we are giving our customers the best experience?
Exactly.
And really taking that into consideration. So yeah,
There's a lot of
curve there.
I love that you're doing that, and like you now have experienced it. There's a lot of conversation to have around the topic of virtual events. Can it be confusing? Absolutely. That is why I was passionate about or doing a show, right? Because you do a show, you have a community that talks about it and get resources and experience this, like everyone experience. So I'm starting out with a We Do Virtual Events live show, right? I'm starting with 8 different areas because it's not only B2C in this conversation of for the show, it's also B2B, right? So the 8 areas that we cover or the topics that we cover at We Do Virtual Events Live is networking. How do we connect with one another? That is important because some people don't know how to show up on camera or like feel shy, but introverts are doing better on online, right?
Online,
yeah. And then the other one, a big conversation, just like you mentioned, career development, because now our schools, they have job fairs and they have onboarding and all that stuff. They HR is using virtual events for, like interviews and stuff like that. So career development. The other one is education, right? Because like schools, the kids these days, like they have to go to school and they have intermittent in person and virtual. So, how do they do that? So there's we have a few different education academias on panel. And then trade industry, like I have Chocolate Johnny, who's a 3rd generation chocolatier from Australia, who's doing the August 25th show. You know what? I was going through this whole panel, Julia, and I was like, I almost already am 55 speakers in that I've booked.
Yep.
So can you imagine the knowledge that we're bringing to this whole 12-week episode? I'm like, what? And then we have content creators. That's typical, like you and me, and everybody who brings the value, content creators, coaching and training, right? Just like you said, online courses, training, back in those days, there's so many Teachables and all these other different platforms. They were ahead of their game. So
they were
like
ahead of their game, and people are and there's some people that are just discovering them and just using
Udemy
now.
Right? Udemy were also among
one of the
first.
first one, and I think it was like lynda.com, which also got purchased by LinkedIn. That's have to say, LinkedIn has been doing some
they're being very strategic about what they want to do.
Purchases.
Yeah. And then coaching and training. And the other one definitely naturally is event technology, right? Event tech, because we have to talk about that, So I will break it down into streaming, virtual events platform, the conversation of event tech as in how do we do it for PR, that kind of thing. And then we also have tourism and hospitality. This is the one panel that I had a challenge to fill, but you know what? I'm so happy that I filled it because there is somebody on the panel who is from the hotel industry.
Yeah.
She actually said her hotel uses a lot of virtual events to kind of like get engagement, to get people to the hotel. The other one is a gentleman out of Canada who actually started this online course or tutorial program called Cheftorial. And I'm like, this is so cool, And then I have another person who I met through another virtual events group. I was trying to figure out who do I can I speak to about like travel, the experience, right? So she and her husband had, connected with me about doing like an event where she actually helped what her product offering is. She and her husband goes to different countries in the world because
Yeah.
they paint. So let's just say they want to paint a cathedral or a castle in London and in Europe, right? So they actually do that tour and then they go there and paint in person. She's made that a product, but because of the pandemic, she's
Yeah.
had to learn how to use virtual events. That one's going to be interesting.
That's
And then I have
amazing.
Nazim,
Yeah.
who's from Italy, who does the Italy tours. So I'm like, oh, these people are going to share a lot of
I
experiences.
know. I'm all over
Yeah.
the Italy tour. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. So if you're really questioning, hey, the pandemic's almost done, everyone's getting vaccinated, I don't know if virtual events are going to stay, think again.
Yeah.
If LinkedIn invested $5 billion in Hopin and Hopin bought StreamYard
Yeah.
for $250 million,
It's still going to be
that
around because
tells you a little bit.
we got a taste, right? The consumer, whether it's individuals, businesses, professionals, career driven, whatever it is, we got a taste of what it was like to be able to, what was it that Lance say? Be geographically agnostic.
Yes.
We get the best quality content from wherever it comes from, right? So as producers, it pushes us to make better products. And as consumers, it gives us the opportunity to have a wide variety of resources to choose from.
Exactly. But I also share, I'm not saying, or I'm not dissing the concept of webinar. Yes, you will probably use a webinar as one of your virtual event content program, right?
Yep,
one of it.
exactly.
But now virtual events, because this is why I'm talking about reimagining the traditional event. This is the line that I'm using because it really, you really have to take a deeper look and deeper dive into what's the value and what's that feeling of emotion that you want to create this virtual event. If your virtual event is on Zoom, my first reaction would be like, I don't know if I'm going to go to that event. Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right? But if you do a virtual event, like if you register at check-in, you will get 500 points and you will be on the leader scoreboard. If whoever wins on the leader scoreboard, you will win a free ticket by United by Emirates, the airline, go to Dubai. Wouldn't you want to? I will want to do that, right? I'll find a way to get there.
Right.
Yeah. So stuff like that, is happening in the virtual events world. I think we, as the attendees, or especially you have never attended one that has all those like gamification. There's even one, Julia, a platform, not Nextech, but it was something else. It's called Purple World. I was actually connected to the CEO. It's a campus of virtual event. So you have an avatar. You can dress your avatar, right? Nice. So agenda for the day, it starts with like networking. Okay, the networking hall is right over here. And then you want to go to the exhibition hall. Now you can leave the exhibition hall, see yourself walking through the campus to the exhibition hall. And from the exhibition hall, if you want to go to the lobby for dance, you can actually, I'm thinking like, what? It's mind-blowing because they're trying to reimagine the traditional event by using a lot of engagement features. Mm-hmm. So people are not bored, because you and I know we all have seconds attention span. Yeah. So having 6 hours on a Zoom meeting can be like, wow, that's a lot. So, yeah. So that's the future of virtual events, live virtual events. So it's here to stay.
It is. I'm so excited that you have your series that's coming up as well. I'm so excited to be able to be part of it and be on the panel. And I'm super
and you know what? I have to share this with you, if I'm not mistaken, because I can't remember, because I have 55 speakers that I don't know who's on it.
But I understand.
If I'm not mistaken, your panel is an all women's panel. It's an event marketing panel. So that would be so awesome.
That is
So,
pretty
it
awesome.
would be awesome to hear, all the different experiences that are coming together. Yes. I believe Shannon and Shannon from Encaptive is on your panel.
Right.
The other one was the Crowdcast. Louise will be on your panel.
Louise, all right.
Yeah.
So
So that would be
I have
awesome.
all the tech. All right, so I'm bringing the marketing side because I feel
Yes,
like the tech
because remember
side
we said, yeah, the conversation about marketing, and I think it's really important because this, that was like one of the questions that came out in the We Do Virtual Events group too. Somebody asked, like, like I asked a question because I was inspired by somebody said, like, but how do you market your events? So it'll be nice to hear how you market, how everybody else, different platforms have different technology built it into that, So like email campaigns, some of the like Crowdcast has email campaigns built into the
built
product. So you don't,
in.
you don't necessarily need to get another, like tool. So that all that kind of stuff is kind of cool
And I think
to
having
experience.
like me as the consumer,
Yep.
and that's the
Yep.
thing, right? Because I'm a consumer of the technology, but I'm also the producer of the
Correct.
content that's going out. So like
Correct.
I'm really like right smack dab in the middle there.
Yes, exactly. And I think, we all could have done all the different, panels, but, I know like, I wanted this panel to really talk about like how to host a successful event, because the thing is that this platform, like how to market it, because it's kind of important, because I saw you taking your in-person or live event to virtual, right? And then Shannon evolved her app product to a virtual events platform. I'm having goosies to talk about it. Oh, and the other one is Brigetti, who's actually from Cape Town, South Africa. So she literally too has been in this live streaming space with me. She and we tested that Periscope, Be Live TV, StreamYard, Crowdcast. We did it all.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yep.
So it'll be nice to hear everybody's experiences.
And it's good to know too the behind the scenes, and that like yes, it does take work to, to produce.
Correct.
So
I think the best thing we can share with our audience, Julia, is a virtual event is just as many logistics as it would take to plan the in-person event.
Is.
The only beauty is the only beauty is we don't have to be in person location. Therefore, we can work in our undies if we want to and be really comfortable. And then we can monetize. That's a different topic. It's altogether a different day. But the idea is, I think, because people get Zoom tired because it's so long and it's just like everybody 20 people on screen and you're so distracted, right? But not every virtual event requires 20 people on screen, right? Because content delivery is different, presentation is different. And then we also have to think about, and I think because people worked from home or remotely during pandemic, they've also tasted like a little bit of that what should I call the quality of life, right? Because now I get to, not travel, like get up at 4 or 5 in the morning to catch a train to New York.
Yeah.
Or, I don't mind. And now I don't have maybe one cost. I can have my babysitter only coming.
Yeah, I can just make the decision if I want to do that. It's like, do I want to take the train that day? Yeah, maybe not. Maybe there'll be times where I do want to take the train and I do want to have that in person. But to have that ability to make that decision is definitely so important right now. Like, there's definitely still like a couple of events where I'm just like, oh, I really wish I could, go down to Stanford or go down to New York, but I don't have to. And just the luxury of knowing that you don't have to.
And I think as we progress in the virtual live events or virtual events online, the technology is going to get really, really, it's going to be improved tenfold also.
Absolutely.
Because, of course, technology is technology, like anything else that we do, internet connection, whatever, that's the truth. But the idea is we can literally, just like Lance say, connect with anyone in the world, and suddenly you have friends and a tribe that suddenly is just your following, your supporters. And to be honest with all of you, I've had like some people, and I think on panel, the first panel, out of the 5 guests that I had,
Yeah,
I've not met 3 of them, but I've actually
in person.
been
Yeah.
working with them or collaborating with them for over or like almost 10 years. So
Yeah,
can you imagine the power?
it is.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. It's so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
So we're basically 5 minutes over time. We could go an hour over time.
I know, right?
I know that we
You
could,
can
but
tell Zeph loves to talk about this stuff.
no, but
We
I'm
both
like,
love to talk about this stuff.
it's great stuff. And you, so I've put the we do virtual events.live on the ticker across this was June 30th. Yep. Shannon, is that the one I'm on too? June 30th? Good to know. Okay.
No, you're June 23rd.
23rd.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember which one, but I'll tell you right now.
Okay, but you know
one of them. Just go to We Do Virtual Events. Yep. .live to get the schedule.
So that's how you get the schedule. I'm also going to post it on the Digital Media Sync group and on the Digital Media Sync page when each of these virtual live events are up as well.
Yep.
And and go to the Facebook group as well. I put the Facebook group up there, and yeah, and I'll definitely have you back.
Correction. So Shannon is actually June 23rd. Yes, I would love to come back.
June 23rd, and I'm also
June 23rd for sure. Yeah, so that's in 2 weeks. So like yes.
1 week.
So next week. Next week. Sorry.
Next week.
June 23rd. Okay, yep. Okay. June 23rd. Yep. Yeah, she will be on the panel with you.
Excellent. All right. So I'm definitely going to be promoting
this. This is an all women's panel. I'm going to be really, really like, yeah. All right. I just want to say
we are powerful in our space.
I know. I just want to say thank you for having me again on the show. I love talking about this, and you've seen you've seen my journey over the years.
I have.
I know. And I appreciate you inviting me.
In all hours of the day.
Zav, where do I find Zav? You just Google her or find her. She's live somewhere.
Don't worry about it.
I know, and people ask me sometimes for my business card, and I'm like, you could just Google Zav Zen. You'll find a place.
Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. All right. Once again, it's so good to have you. Next week, I just want to let everybody know we're going to have Chris Tonsky from Fusion Design. She's going to be talking about website design. Again, another one of my dear friends that I love working with. And then after that, we're going to be doing a series with the New Haven Free Public Library with I've Squared, and they have the digital toolbox, and Colleen Lynch is going to be joining me. And the first tool that we're going to be talking about on June 29th is going to be SEM Rush. So SEM Rush is available for free at the library, the New Haven Free Public Library, if you have your library card. So we're going to be talking about utilizing the free business tools that they have available and the free nonprofit tools. And they have one free creative tool. I think it's called Creative Bug. I'm going to have to look it up. But that's going to be on the calendar as well.
There's so much technology these days. It's just a matter of. So I think before we go, if I may share one thing, it's just this. Yeah. Right? Yes. Technology can be overwhelming and can be stressful and confusing at the same time. But at the same time, best thing is to patch it into communities like what we're doing, right? Whether with Digital Media Sync or we do virtual events live, there is a community to have this conversation. There are people who can help you, right? So if you're not ready to make an investment in hiring somebody, a pro expert to help you, you can definitely watch the shows to kind of get an idea of how the community rocks, right? How we do our stuff. Then you can always decide down the line if it's something that, hey, I need to talk to Julia. Then you can do the one-on-one call. So I always tell people, in order for us all want to learn, we have to get our feet wet and try it out. That's the only way. Pandemic.
That's how we do it. And that's, and that's the thing, right? And that's how we've each been doing it for the past 10 years, because we've each had our businesses probably around the same time, same amount of time. Maybe you were a little bit longer with having your own business. I know mine was like 12 years, maybe. I started in 2009. I'm pretty sure I can count.
I think so. I just told you in the beginning,
like, I don't
10
know.
years, right? 10 years, because
10 years.
I didn't even realize I'm in my 10th year when somebody said to me, like, happy, congratulations on your work anniversary. And I'm thinking, and somebody said 10 years is a great accomplishment. And I'm like, oh my God, it is June, because I started this June 11, 19, what is 10 years ago? 2011.
2011. I know, like math.
I know, like 2011. And I'm thinking, wow, wow, I'm just like amazed at the technology. So as you have experienced and witnessed what I said, right? I started from Google Hangouts, right? And then that's Periscope. Periscope is no more now. Blab I Am was the first to go, even though it came after Periscope, right? And then all these other platforms. So I did start.
Can't even figure out the time from there.
Streaming. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah. So now I'm seeing the era of virtual events. There was an era of live broadcasting, then now the era of virtual events. And the virtual events, there's a marriage between virtual events and that live part. So it's blowing my mind.
Yeah. All right. So this episode is actually going to be on nhvknown.com. I'm going to send you the episode as well, Zeph, to do with as you please. And we're going to end the broadcast now because we could just keep talking, and I think everybody has stuff to do. I don't know. All right.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.